What's up, basketball coaches, players, and fans? Welcome to the Pass First podcast, where we share our knowledge of the game. My name is Alex Engel, and I'm here with my partner, Augie Johnston. We hope you're able to take something away from today's episode that'll help you on your basketball journey. Today, we have a special guest, Matt Bradley. He just finished up a season at Cal, and next year we'll be playing at San Diego State. And he's going to be talking to us all about the work ethic and those unseen hours that go into playing basketball, especially at the high major level. If you've been following us and listening to us either on iTunes, on Spotify, or watching here on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. All right, welcome in, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As I said earlier on the intro, we have Matt Bradley here. He's going to be playing at San Diego State next year. So first off, thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to have you with us. And then secondly, give us a little background, like a 1 2 minute background on yourself and your basketball journey so far.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here, first off. And my name is Matt Bradley. Entering my fourth year, transferring over to San Diego State from UC Berkeley. And it's been a long journey for me. You know, I'm from San Bernardino, California. Growing up, I've always been like a two-sport athlete. And I think about when I was 15, 16, I felt called to really just focus on basketball. And it was a great decision, you know. And since then, you know, I've had a lot of ups and downs as far as injuries or, you know, performance, just feel like you're hitting a wall and you're not getting better. But I've always been able to overcome it. And, you know, the thing that's been consistent with me is just the work I've put in. So, I played grassroots basketball for Team Elite over in Riverside, California. Coach Marvin Lee. We played against like the top talent across the country, and I, put myself on a certain level, a certain atmosphere where I was, a small fish in a big pond, leaving my city and going against, players from all over the country. So that was a big opportunity for me, and I did well. And, luckily I got the offer from UC Berkeley. And, obviously a little bit, more into this interview, we can definitely touch on some more things. But yeah, man, it's been a long journey, and I'm extremely blessed. So yeah, thank you.
I always got to ask the question. I don't know if Alex was waiting for me to ask it, but what kind of numbers did you put up in high school?
So I'd say freshman year, I was more of the guy that was just like, we need you to go out there, play hard, get a rebound, score it when you can. But, when you got older guys on the team, it's really their role to, be the more impactful player, especially in high school. I feel like you're just there to learn and take notes, and that's what I did. And
what about the best year you had? And sorry to cut you off, but the best year, and as far as, did you play varsity as a freshman?
I did play, yeah. I played varsity as a freshman. Yeah, okay. I played varsity as a freshman.
So how about that best year?
Best year, I'd say, is my junior year. Junior year. I played for San Bernardino High School. I think I averaged like 34 points a game.
That's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah. It was crazy. And we went to semifinals of CIF. And the only team to do that before me was back in like 1980 something. That was with Byron Russell. He played on the Utah Jazz. That was Michael Jordan hit the big shot on him. So he was the only person to do that before. And, the city was buzzing around us. Like, they were really supporting us. And we lost in semis and then made it. We entered the state, and the team that beat us in semis, we played them again and beat them. And then it was just, that year was just great. That was a great year. And, that's when I really made the mark for myself, and people started, getting notoriety about me. So it was cool. Yeah, it was a great year.
Yeah, I think that just kind of talking about, you've experienced playing at the high major level, and a lot of kids talk about wanting to play, D1 or even high major D1. And I don't think they realize like how good you have to be. I mean, 34 obviously is a ridiculous amount of points, but not only that, but you were averaging 34 on a team that was probably one of the best teams in the state, arguably a top 10 team in the state, I'm sure, or maybe even better than that. So you were putting up those numbers on big teams, and sometimes guys are like, well, I averaged 15 or 20 on last team in the worst conference. And it's like, that's not the same. Like somebody's got to score, so that you're the one that's doing it, But so that's cool to hear, but that's very impressive. That's got to be our top scoring high school. We've had some high ones on here, but 34 is definitely the highest, I think.
Yeah, I had 34, and then the one that It's crazy. I had 72 points one game that year,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, yeah, and Leangelo Ball just did it. He had 72, and I didn't tell nobody, but I was like, I knew who we were about to play. Obviously, I knew it's like, look, this is the game. If I'm going to do it, I could really do it. And I didn't really tell nobody. I just told one of my guys. He recorded games. He made highlights. I said, hey man, pull up to this game. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but something big's going to happen. And then he pulled up, and but yeah, that was a good experience, and that was memorable for sure. Yeah.
I ran across that and doing a little bit of research for sure. That video, that's awesome, man. It's cool that
Yeah.
you got solidified with the film and everything. So
Yeah,
you'll be
yeah,
showing
that was nice.
you'll show your grandkids that one someday for sure.
Facts, facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were younger, let's kind of like transition here to talk about, dig a little deeper here. When you were younger, did you grow up like kind of being more advanced compared to a lot of your peers, or was it something that happened as you started to get older, get into high school, that age?
Yeah, nah, to be honest, when I was younger, I wasn't. I was actually a little bit behind the curve. And people can build this like false ideology about themselves. Like you can surround yourself with a bunch of dudes that you're better than, and tell yourself like, oh yeah, I'm the best guy out here. But for me, it was more so like surrounding myself with people that I wasn't better than, and trying to, like, hey, like, let me hang out with this dude because I know, like, he's whooping my butt every time we work out, blah, blah, blah. And then once I started passing those dudes up, that's when I was like, okay. But it took a long time for that. So that's the big thing with me. It was just like, don't try to be a big fish in a small pond because all you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure at the end of the day. But yeah, no, yeah, I was behind the curve, but I put in the work. Like I continue to put in the work, and I think you have to have a passion for the process, not the product. A lot of people like the finished product, but not really the process, and that can get you in trouble. So yeah,
Yeah, that's a wise statement there. You sure
yeah.
you haven't been coaching for like 30 years or something?
Yeah, I've been hearing it. I've been hearing it for a while now. It makes a lot of sense when you really sit down and think about it.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you don't. I was 16. I didn't really think of it like that, even though I was, working out all the time. But I have a little bit more wisdom from when I was 15. Still missing a lot, but just to notice that is big time. I feel like.
I'm sure that's helped you put where you are today.
Yeah.
So what age did you feel like you kind of fell in love with the game and realized that I really want to take this seriously? Like this is the path I want to pursue.
I'd say my freshman year. I went into high school uh, being mainly a football guy, and that's what I thought was going to be my ticket. I was like, look, I'm going to play college football, this and that, and the team I went to, the high school was like a big football school, and I had a lot of maturing I needed to do because I went in there like, look, I'm gonna play varsity as a freshman, blah blah blah, and they weren't going for that. They're like, Matt, you gotta wait your time, and I'm like, I know, like I'm talented enough, but I wasn't willing to understand what they were talking about and see the importance in it. So the basketball team actually was like more on the losing end. Like they're like, we need players. Like, look, you come over here, like we'll take you in, like blah blah blah. And once at that like that feeling of acceptance and being needed a little bit more than football, like attracted me to basketball way more. And I think ever since then, that's when I put the football down and really focused on basketball. So, but which isn't, I learned from that too. Like I matured a lot from it. It's not necessarily the right thing all the time, but that's what happened to me personally. So, yeah.
And when you were, I mean, I don't remember exactly when we first met how old you were. I think you might have been a eighth grader going into your freshman year or something
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you already, I mean, I don't know exactly how tall, but you could tell me. I think you were already like 6'1", 6'2", maybe even a
Mm-hmm.
little taller. And
Yeah.
you were built. And I remember seeing you and you're like, yeah, I'm an eighth grader going to freshman year. And I remember looking at myself like, I'm a grown man and you're out here making me look like a child. Like
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
built already. So I understand that feeling of like, well, I can play with the older guys because a lot of times I've seen freshmen come in that they're skilled or they have something that they can do really well, but they don't have the size and the physicality. They come
Mm-hmm.
in, they're 5'4", and it's like, well, you have the skill, but you don't understand the rest of it. But you kind of had that whole package already,
Yeah.
at that age, which I'm sure helped push you to thinking like, okay, I can go out and compete right now
Mm-hmm.
and still get better. Because a lot of guys, when they're your size, in 8th grade or freshman year, they get thrown into the post.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're 6'1", 6'2" as an 8th grader, you're going straight to the post. So I guess kind of a follow-up question is, how did you keep yourself from that or how did you keep that from happening to you and being able to stay on the perimeter?
It's funny because, like you said, like in the grand scheme of things, like I'm actually, when you look at like a big man compared to a guard size, like I fit the guard scenario. Like I'm right now about 6'3", 6'4", but like you said, in 8th grade, I haven't really grown too much, like 6'2". So when you look at like a 6'2" 8th grader, 6'1" 8th grader, automatically, if they have a little size in them, like, let's post them up. And the thing is, like, I did that for a little bit, and I felt like, to be honest, like, I did that, but when it came time to play pickup or when it came time to really work out, I worked on those other assets, of my game. And to be honest, like, when I look back on it now that I'm a college guard, like, playing that post really helped develop my footwork, my physicality. Like, there's actually, like, you can see the pros and cons and everything. And there's a lot of pros in having them trying to play this post scenario. And luckily for me, it's just like, you could like just keep working on that post stuff. But I was like, nah, like, I saw the big picture. I'm like, look, I don't know if I'm gonna grow anymore. So I gotta start working on my jump shot, start working on my handles. And that's what I did. So yeah. So it's mainly just like, you can't really control what the coach feels is best for the team, but what you can control is what you do outside of practice and that type of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think most players, they aren't, able to understand that, okay, this is what my team needs and this is what my future needs. Yeah. And you can do both, for some time. But at what age would you say that you started to move out to the perimeter, like actually in games? Because I think even as a high school coach, it would be hard. You'd be like, man, this guy, is but if your game is, more tailored towards the perimeter, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, what age?
Yeah, I'd say sophomore year. I freshman year when I played varsity, like I said, my only role was like go in there, guard somebody, play hard. And I wasn't really shooting no jump shots. I wasn't dribbling the ball, but I'd catch it in the mid post, face up. Like they called me like Charles Barkley. That's what they try to. They were calling me Charles Barkley. And then my sophomore year, I ended up transferring to a different school, and they needed just dudes to play. And I was playing like 1 through 5, like everything. I was the big man, but I'd bring the ball up the court. And, I guess, like I said, there's pros and cons to everything. Like having to do all that established like me becoming a better player, even though it wasn't realistic in the college game, Like I became a better rebounder, a better distributor, a better competitor, all because of that, having to do everything. So, yeah, I'd say like sophomore year is when I really started to like grow my game outward, more towards like a 3. I was really like a 4-man. And then I turned into a 3. And maybe my senior year of high school was a 2. And then freshman year of college, it's a whole new level of a skill. So I'm back at the 3 freshman year. I'm playing 3-man. And, I'm in the Pac-12. Dudes are like 6'8", and I'm 6'4". And then I saw like I got to develop my skill all over again, like become way better. And that's what I did. And thankfully, I'm like a 2 now. And there's still a lot more room to grow. So, yeah.
It shows too, though, that you were willing to accept whatever role you're in. And I think a lot of same thing that we talked about earlier. A lot of kids will be like, "Well, I play this position, and I'm only going to play this position." The coach is like, "Well, I can play you more minutes if you can do this, and this for me." And I see that so often. It kind of drives me crazy because I'm like, you guys should you should be fortunate, or not fortunate. What's the word I'm looking for? Gracious about the fact that the coach just wants to put you on the floor,
content.
Like I get it. You want to play multiple positions, but as you guys said earlier, I think Augie, as you said, you can still work on those other skills and then help your team at the same time and get playing time, At the end of the day, that's the end goal.
Thing is, like, games are only 20%, 30% of the season. You got practices every day, and it's like, coach isn't, unless he's trying to yank a chain or like give you a hard time, you have all that time to prove that you're this type of player that you want to, present yourself to be. And say if the spot's already filled, it's like, how can you contribute to winning? And if you're contributing to winning and the coach sees that, he'll give you those, me personally, I believe that, the coach will allow you to, hey, okay, let's try to, add more to your game, add more to your bag. And, I see no reason for that not happening if you're actually affecting winning. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look back at, like, middle school, high school, and you went through a practice, obviously you had your practices every day, but were you doing extra stuff on top of that? I mean, I'm guessing yes. And what did that extra stuff look like? Like, was that like an everyday before, after practice, or, you had extra things set up? Like, how did that look?
Yeah. So I'd say like all the way up till high school. I was never like the drill guy. I never really trained. I was playing, and my dad always used to get on me like, "Man, stop playing pickup," because I play go to practice. Then after practice, I go to whatever open gym and just play pickup with like grown adults for like 2 3 hours, and that's what I did. And I felt like it gets you better to a certain extent, and then once you hit that wall, it's like, okay, what can I do now? And I'd say sophomore year, I really started to focus on, working with just maybe a couple people here and there, training, doing the extra things. But one thing that really established everything for me, and it shows now, is that when I was like sixth grade, fifth grade, I was doing push-ups. Like I was doing push-ups with my dad, and I'm labeled as like one of the strongest guards in college right now, just because I benched 315. Like I wouldn't say like you want to do all that while you're playing basketball, but I have that type of strength, and that was established when I was in fifth grade. So like what I tell people now, like I don't care how good you are, if you're not strong enough to like, or not, whatever the case may be, like you can't teach height and you can't really teach strength. So like if you can't control your height, but you can control how strong you are. So I'd say people should really focus on doing the little things like that, push ups, dips, pull ups, like all that stuff plays a big effect in, you as a player.
Yeah, and that's stuff too that you can do at a young age, and it's not going to be harmful for your body. I know some people
Yeah.
go back and forth about like when should you introduce weights, and I think we've even talked about this a little bit, Augie, on the podcast at some point. When do you introduce weight and get into heavier stuff? But you can always do push-ups, sit-ups, dips, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it's great for you, and it builds that work ethic. So if you do it at a young age, when you do get old enough to hit the weights, you're not going to hate it, because
Hmm.
I mean, some kids, they hate going in the weight room, and it's like, well, then you're limiting yourself on how far you're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a grown, like it comes to a point where it's a grown man sport. And a big reason for that is like the strength and the physicality. And it's like, you can be the best player skill wise ever, but if you can't handle that physicality and all that, it's like, what's the point?
Hmm.
So, yeah, that was the main thing. And like, I was always built like a football player, and that helped me out a lot. That helped me out a lot. Yeah.
As far as skill workouts go, back I guess maybe sophomore, junior year, high school, maybe even senior year, because I think most players kind of have the same story. We not until high school is when we start actually getting up jumpers and doing all that. Before we're just playing and that kind of stuff. But what was like a typical skill workout? Like what would you guys be doing? What would it look like? Like rep
Yeah.
numbers, drills? Yeah.
Okay. So my high school had a shooting gun. I was big on the shooting gun in high school. I get up maybe 300, 500 makes on that. That would just be like before school. I'd show up before school, like 7 a.m., whatever, get just strictly shots. But then like when I worked out later in the day, I would go to LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness. That's kind of like what's happened. I know like Central Coast, look, you got Kennedy Club Fitness. Yeah, yeah. But like over here, we have something like 24-hour fitness. So I'd go there with like a coach or maybe another teammate. And what I usually typically do, I just start in close and work my way out. So I'll do mic-ins, make 10 in a row, then reverse mic-ins, and then just like simple, like just like cut across the key, like left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, just and like work my way further out. And then windmills, jump shots, like make 10, each spot. And I'm just working my way out. And then once I work my way all the way out, then I start putting the ball on the floor. I don't even really dribble like for the first 20 minutes of the workout. It's just strictly touch and, trying to get your blood going. Like you breathing hard. And then, I typically like work off coming off screens or I'm not too big on just standing there and shooting because it's not realistic, like you're never going to be like not sweating and just shooting 5 in a row. Like you got to do stuff off the movement. And then maybe, towards the end, I would do some catch and shoot just to, work on my touch. But everything was on a movement and everything was like in a bunch of shots. Like it'd be like 5 shots, like top corner, run opposite corner, wing, like, just trying to get in shape and trying to shoot shots while I was tired. And then always ended the workout with one-on-one if I was with another guy. So, yeah.
Nice. Those sounds like some really nice workouts. I like what you said that, you don't even put the ball down on the floor until after 20 minutes. You're just working on finishing touch and stuff. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's definitely helped me out a lot, but it's crazy. Like, just the more advanced I got, the more I see like how to be more effective in workouts. And I used to be the guy that was in gyms for like maybe 5-6 hours, but essentially, like, now that I'm in college, you got class, you got all these other types of responsibilities. Like, how can you make an hour and a half, an hour, the most effective it can be? And I've learned that, like, it can be really effective if you know what you're doing, or have somebody that knows what they're doing and they're training you. So
Definitely.
Yeah, efficiency is key, I'm sure, in a lot of that. So what was, let's kind of go back to this last, few years. I know you're about to move on to San Diego State, but just give us a little rundown. What was like a day in the life like at Cal, so that people that are watching, or kids that may watch and say, I wonder what it's like at a high major. What is that experience like?
Yeah, Cal, man. It's Cal. Everybody knows Cal for how it's a prestigious school. Like, academically, like, it's the most prestigious school in America, and it's in one of the best conferences in America. So you got to be a high level student and a high level athlete at the same time. And if you're not, it shows. So definitely, I'd wake up when it was a typical day in Berkeley. I'd wake up 6:30, 7, make sure I'd like get a shake, a little, blend a little shake, get something on the move. Everything's on the move. Like, you're never just sitting around chilling, maybe until nighttime. Practice, weights, 7 a.m., all the way to like 10, therapy afterwards, class. You got like class usually 12 to 4, and like you come back, and then you got individual workouts, or you got like partner workouts, you got film all the way up to like 6, and then study hall 7 to 8. And like, this is like, it's like longer than a job shift. It's like a whole day of, and you got to really love this stuff in order to do it. You feel me? Because like, if not, you're going to resent it. Like, oh, I got to wake up early. I got to wake up at 6:30. And it's like, it shows for some people, but I most days, everybody has their days, but most days I can say 95%, 99% of the time, I really enjoyed it. And a day in the life in Berkeley was extreme. The Bay Area is lovely. I really love Berkeley. And it was nice out there.
I got like a kind of a random question as far as like being at that level, and like in the off season, for example. Like, do you guys go play pickup? Like, I know you guys probably play pickup, but is there any pickup where like there's outside guys involved, or do you guys ever go to like an LA Fitness or whatever and get it in, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd say we usually stuck around. With COVID, it was crazy because like, you have to we would take BART. It's like, which is like a train to all the way to like SF, just to get like a workout session, or like a hoop session in, because everything's closed in Berkeley. And but like, when things were normal, like usually, to be honest, like during season, my freshman year, I was careless. Like, we would have practice, and then I'd go in like the student gym, like the recreational gym, and go play pickup. I'd wear like no Cal gear, just so like people didn't know, and nobody knew who I was. I was coming in as a freshman, and I just love to play, So I'd go in there after practice, after that long schedule I just listed out. I'd go in there maybe like 8 o'clock, play till 10, and everybody's like, do you play sports here? I'm like, nah, I'm just a student. I'm just a student.
I'm the video guy.
Yeah, I'm the video guy. And then, I'd go in there, and it'd be great runs. There's some good dudes in there too. And it's like, but like a couple of teammates would do that with me. We'd go in there just not wearing any Cal gear, and just, and obviously like the guys I'm with is like 6'8", like obviously, they play in here. So, but nah, that's what we did. And then we played pickup amongst each other too, like most days. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Nice.
Yeah, I noticed different areas, like depending on where the schools are at, and depending on, I think maybe even the level of the schools, you'll hear different things on that. Like, some schools, I feel like the players stay really together. They stay, they play open gym against their own team, and that's it. And then at other areas, and I feel like, you correct me if I'm wrong here, Og, I feel like Division I, that's more common, where like D1 guys will stick together, play against each other. Maybe they'll go to like very specific runs with other guys that they're invited to. And when you go to like D2, NAI, D3, like you'll see guys from different colleges all go to like the same run and play against each other a little more often. I don't know, maybe it's because of the size of the school, and a lot of those D2s and D3s don't have like rec centers that are large that they can go to and play at. But I don't know if that's how it was for you, Augie, but I know for sure we would play with our team, but we definitely play with some other guys too from other schools.
Yeah, for me, I mean, at the D2 level, like it was relaxed, right? Like, yeah, we were out there being way more careless than even Matt, but
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I just wondered because I know like at like the D1 level, like they're probably a little bit more buttoned up with that and stuff. So I was just curious on how they do get their runs. But I mean,
Yeah.
as a freshman, you're out there doing that, but I'm sure you had to find different ways as you got older. So
Yeah, and if anybody did play pickup with us, that was like through us, it would be like alumni, like Jerome
oh, okay.
Randall. Jerome Randall came back; he's all-time leading scorer at Cal. Um, man, a lot of players would come back home and just play pickup, come bust us up real quick, and then leave. So, yeah,
That's awesome.
Ivan Rabb, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
cool.
I was going to ask, and I guess this is kind of following up into our next question. When you're, I know you kind of gave the schedule here, but during the season, are you spending a lot of time on your own besides like, when you're freshman year going to play pickup, but you say your sophomore, junior year, did you spend a lot of time on your own working out, like outside of your practice, outside of your workouts? Were you doing extra stuff on top of that as well? Or was it like, no, I had enough through my scheduled stuff that I felt pretty good?
Yeah, no, you have to. You have to do extra stuff, or you're just going to be, like everybody else, really. Like in my freshman year, obviously, I was pretty much, a standard player, average 10 points. But when I came into college, I was scared. Like you got to work out of fear sometimes, and I had no jump shot coming into college, like none whatsoever. I strictly played, bully ball. I had maybe a little mid-range game, and luckily, I got introduced to a guy named Tyshawn. He goes by TFK. He played at Cal, and he also played at Pepperdine. And he trained me from freshman year all the way to junior year. And that freshman summer, this dude, man, he wanted to be in the gym for like 4 hours. And I'm like, oh man, like, sometimes he would really work me down to like where I'm just like, come on, it's time to get out of here. And he's like, nah, another 100, another 100. And I'm just shooting it, like shooting, and I end up shooting like 47% from three that year. The best 3-point percentage in the Pac-12, and I didn't even come into college being able to shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
And that just goes to show, like, if you really put in the work, like your circumstance can really change. Like, I was not a 3-point shooter whatsoever. Yeah, and I had to do. I worked out of fear. I was scared, and then going into my sophomore year, our three best players like technically left the team. They transferred because our coach got fired. And then I was scared again. I'm like, oh, snap, like, who's going to step up? So I'm working overtime, like, super out of fear. Like, oh, my gosh, like, is it going to be me? Like, what if everybody's looking at me and I don't step up? And I went into overdrive, and luckily I was able to step up, and I averaged, like, 18 that year. And, yeah, man, just sometimes you got to work out of fear, essentially. Can't be too, like, comfortable and too, like, oh, I'm fine, like, because you're just fooling yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you taper off any of your workouts during the season just so like you don't overwork your body compared to an off-season workout?
I was way more mindful, I'd say going into deeper and deeper in my college career, but before I was just working to work, and that like with the whole jump shot thing, my freshman year, I probably put in the most work, but you can't teach experience. Like I didn't have the experience to really go out there. I wasn't no one and done type dude. So, I played to the best of my ability my freshman year, but that year I was really just working like unconsciously, like all the time, and it kind of affected my body for sure. But then once I, sophomore year, I made sure like, oh, sometimes it's good to like not get those extra shots and go stretch for 20 minutes or go get therapy. I didn't see that before. I thought it was just strictly like I just need to go work out, like go maximum level every time, and it wasn't the case. So there's other ways of being productive for sure.
Yeah, and I think more recently overtraining like is the idea of overtraining has become a thing where I feel like 10, 15 years ago, people didn't talk about that as much. I mean, they did a little, but it was just kind of like you said, just work, and that's how you get better. And that is true most of the time. But like you said, you can go to a point where you're actually hurting yourself if you're not allowing yourself to recover.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. Like people, I heard people say, like, you know what, like I just want to rest. But it's like, are you sure? Like you've hit your point? Have you hit that wall, or you just don't want to work out? And that's where you got to really like look in the mirror and say like, like, can I give a little bit more? Like, and yeah, you don't want to like resort to like, oh, I'm a little tired, like, like, but like you said, overtraining can definitely, be as effective and not training at all as far as detrimentally wise. So
I think it's a fine line, like what you just said there. Like it's a really fine line of like, am I just being lazy today or am I actually there? And probably for most people, it's I'm being lazy, and for some people it's I'm overtraining. But I would say most people it's like you said, no, I probably have more in the tank. I just don't feel like doing it. And so we, people use that as an excuse. So let's kind of talk about offensively. Your offensive style and what offense do you like to play in? Like if you could pick, what kind of offensive style do you like to play in?
I'd say like kind of like I like fast pace. I like, push and transition, see if we can get a quick option as far as like a kick out or like try to get in the paint, kick out to a three, or find the big man rim running, and everybody's essential in that like style of offense. Like everybody has to run, everybody has to know their positioning on the floor, spacing, and that's what I'm into because you get a quick bucket option. The defense isn't really set yet, but if in a set offense, really typically, we have like weird names for ours, but like essentially it kind of comes down to ball screens, off screens, and kind of just finding guys. Everybody's moving. You can't be too stagnant because that's when, you got to play simply isolation ball. And, I like coming off ball screens and I like being found, like as the corner man and the big man, the guy steps up in the middle and they kick it over. And I love offense. And then, so I think San Diego State, they do that to, really good. So, yeah.
It's going to fit your style well.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Give us a little breakdown of like the main base offense that you guys ran at Cal. Like you're coming down the court. Was it, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at any film or anything, but like, what did it look like spacing wise and all that?
I'd say like 60% of our offense was like free flow, like catch, pass, cut, down screen, like it wasn't really it wasn't chaos, but it wasn't like ordered. It was just like, what to do. We practice this, multiple times, like just get to a space. And then when it's time to attack, once you see the gap, then you attack it. But other than that, really, they had me like play some low post offense to where like, if there was a smaller guy on me, we called it like strong, like too strong. Essentially, I'll just come off the big man. He'll set a down screen, and I go the opposite block, and they hit me. And, I usually work out from there, try to find somebody to kick out to. But, anything with motion in it, I feel like can be really successful. If you have one guy that's just dribbling the ball and trying to, get a bucket, you might as well just be playing pickup. And I think you should only have to resort to that maybe late clock, like 8 seconds left. Yeah,
that's cool. That's good to hear that it was semi unstructured a little bit and just kind of give you guys some options to play. That's cool.
Yeah. Give us a little freedom.
That sounds kind of like a 4 out 1 in type of motion. Was it kind of that style?
It was 4 out 1 in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We our 4-man was really like a 3-man. He could shoot the 3 ball, probably one of the best 3-man shooters on the team. And only problem we had was our 5-man, he's a great player, but really like a 4-man. And, everybody in the pack has like at least a 6'11", 7-footer that's legit in the paint. So, the 4 out 1 in, that's what we play typically. And sometimes 5 out, depending on the lineup. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Sure, Augie likes hearing that. He's got the 5 out going, right?
You got the 5 out? Okay, nice.
We play a little 5 out, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So 5 out, and my personal favorite is high low. I like when you have somebody in the high post because you can't really guard the high post unless like you can't double. If you double, it's just a kick out. You got to go 1-on-1 from 10 feet away from the rim. And if you have a low man right there and he's, sealing the dude, whatever, he's a top side, you just throw it over the top. And I feel like that's so simple and so like effective, but that's my personal favorite. Yeah.
Nice.
That's kind of like an older school, like, I don't say old school, but like older style, we had, who do we have on? Was it Coach Cobb from Montana State? And he was talking about them running the high low. And he's like, yeah, not many teams run this anymore, but like it can be very effective. And I think as teams have shoot the three more, they've gone away from that. So that's kind of interesting to hear that you like that.
Yeah. I think I personally, my favorite position is the big man. I feel like if you have a legit big man, like everybody, the point guard is probably the most essential position, which, I think it is maybe. But like my favorite players in the NBA, Joel Embiid, DeMarcus Cousins. And it's like, like I obviously saying that, it's like, if you have a beast in the paint, it's like, there's not much you can do. It's not much you can do. Yeah.
It's true.
Right. Now, what about flip side on the defensive end? Are you like, do you like playing man? Did you guys run like any zone or trapping stuff, or what do you like there?
I like pressured, like high pressured man. I remember we played like a simple man, kind of like arm distance. It was pretty like it was pretty much like don't let your man score. But like we played against Duke my sophomore year, and that was the best defense I've ever played against. Them dudes in you and denial everything, so they disrupt your offense. And like you got to have real defenders to do that. You can't just have like nobody just trying to go out there and deny and pressure. And man, I think I scored like 7 points that game because the way they were on me was just ridiculous, and they disrupted our whole offense. And that's what I like. And I think San Diego State, they're really known for their defense. And I watched a lot of film. I think if I get in better shape and, I'm a senior now, I'll be able to play that type of defense where I'm in you. Instead of not trying to get scored on, I'm forcing stops. I'm trying to make a turnover, force a turnover. So that's why I wanted to mention too, like people, when you play defense not to get scored on instead of playing a stop, like you're putting yourself at risk of getting scored on a lot more, I feel like. So, yeah.
Okay. So I guess our next question here is, what's your end goal? Like what's the goal after you're done playing? What do you want to get to next?
Yeah. So coming to Cal, opened me up to a lot of things, a lot of opportunities. I've come across a lot of people, and it kind of coming in, I was strictly basketball, like, oh yeah, just basketball, this, basketball, that. But I've seen the bigger picture, and, personally, I'm going to ride this basketball wave, until it stops, regardless of where that is. I can't really say yet. As long as I keep putting the work in, hopefully it keeps going and keeps growing. But after that, I'm studying legal studies, and, I'm looking to have like a career in criminal justice, either as like a detective or like a FBI agent or something in that realm. There's a lot of ways of going about that. So just to see, I'm 21 right now, and hopefully I have a long, prosperous life. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's something. I'm looking way after basketball for sure, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have your eyes set on like when you're done trying to, either play in the NBA or play overseas? Is that something that's in your head?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I feel like I personally, like, growing up, I've never been big or like, oh, I want to go to the NBA. Like it's a great dream to have. But it's kind of like I've always been the type also to say like, well, wherever I'm needed, that's where I'll go. If I have a team in Europe or a team somewhere else, hey man, we need you. You'll come here and be happy. You'll play. We'll get you a better. I don't know. Like, will I take that over, me trying to, really, really, go somewhere where, hey, like, yeah, you can try it out. But like, that's where, my whole mindset with that whole thing has been totally different. And people don't understand it, at least my friends, because they ask me all the time. And I'm like, wherever I'm needed or wherever I'll have the most fun, wherever. And that's why I'm kind of sticking by right now. And hopefully that mindset doesn't get me in trouble. But I mean, that's the truth. Like wherever you're going to be happy, Yeah.
That's a good mindset to have. I think that will guide you the right way for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think like you said, a lot of people get caught up in like, I got to be NBA or bust, or I got to be this or bust. And then if it doesn't work out, or maybe it works out, but not quite the way that people thought, it's like their whole life gets thrown out of whack, because that's all they ever thought about and did. And you sound like you've got a lot of things going on for you, which is good.
Yeah.
Because you just never know, you could be the best player in the world and something happen, you get injured, or just, you never know, like you just don't. And so it's smart. I think that you're really, like I said, I'm going to say it's probably a couple times, but that's a really mature response. And for someone at 21 years of age, I definitely know that I and probably Augie were not thinking that same way, and most people are not thinking that way. So that's good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So last question here, and then we'll get you out of here. Do you have any advice for younger players who want to make it and play at that, that high major D1 level?
Yeah, I do. Man, it's just crazy, there's a couple things. One, you just have to be uncommon, like you can't try to be a follow, like you got to follow those that are like truly worth like following, not try to stick in groups, not try to, and especially if we're talking to like my fellow guy hoopers, boys and stuff, man, don't get caught up in the video games, like trying to hang out with girls and all that, I had my first girlfriend in college. Like I was really stuck on my grind, you have to be almost obsessed with it to a certain extent. And if you're not, then you're just fooling yourself, and it's like, you can't really, passion, you like, I don't know what triggers a passion for people, maybe experiences and stuff, but if you don't have that passion, you can only go so far. So yeah, being uncommon, not really listening to, I never got no publicity in high school. Everybody was like, oh, this dude's, I'm a D2 player. I'm a D2. I'm a low level mid D1 player. That was me all the way up to my senior year. And I didn't listen to it, I just kept working, and that's what you got to quite, not listen to the noise sometimes. But also not listen to the yes man, the guy telling you, hey, man, you're great. You're going to be in the NBA, this and that, because that can just be just as harmful because you got somebody hyping you up, and it's like you need like a good balance. And I think that's what my dad did for me. He kept it real. He gave me my compliments, but also told me where I was messing up at. And listening, I think being able to listen and be taught. So, being uncommon, being able to listen, be taught. And yeah, I mean, shoot, it's everybody's journey is different, but it's everything. It's capable for everybody. College is a blessing, and I think everybody can experience it if they really, really dig deep and work for it. Yeah,
I think that's some good advice.
Yeah.
Augie, you got anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I think that was about it. This was a great episode. I think a lot of knowledge was dropped here. I hope young players get to listen to this, and coaches, I hope they get to pass on some of the stuff they heard here too.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thanks again. Seriously, it was great to have you on here and to talk basketball with you. And we hope you have a great year next year at San Diego State. I know that we'll both be following along and keeping tabs on you there. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, shout out Morro Bay High School. Shout out your girls team. I hope they're doing well, and shout out Tuscadero High School. I hope you guys do well as well. So thank you.
Thanks again. Yeah. And for those of you watching at home or listening, thank you guys so much for joining us. Remember, you can subscribe if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or on YouTube. We do come out with a new episode once a week, and we hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.